we've made it to the last lesson. Lesson 8. How do we redesign our school meal program to meet the nutritional needs of all students? So to begin lesson 8, we go back to where we started with our driving question board and go through and review what questions have we answered, what have we partially answered, and what questions do we still have. So as we review the driving question board, we'll probably come up with some questions that we still have that we haven't answered. So this is a good opportunity for students to kind of do a Google News search, look at current events around school meals. As I've been teaching this unit the last 2 school years, some big news has happened related to school lunches in my region. Like, for example, this year they just passed kind of universal free lunch for everyone in the state of Washington. So so this opportunity for students to get to know what's going on in their region and what changes are happening to their school lunch. And it might address some of the unanswered questions from the driving question board. In lesson 8, we're going back again to lesson 1 and reviewing our criterion constraints. Now that we've learned about cooking and the macromolecules of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, how are we going to now tweak the criterion constraints? And also our recent search of current events might also inform what criteria and constraints we're prioritizing or not. This is all leading up to an assessment where students are going to make a decision tree, sort of like a flow chart, to have a process to make a change to the school lunch menu. So here is an example of what a decision tree might look like. So it's a series of yes or no, either or questions, and then it branches off and helps you to make a decision kind of in a systematic way. So we've made it to the last slide of the unit. So let's get into what the unit final looks like. So the unit final, there's kind of 3 parts to it. Part 1 is giving students some information about how to build their decision tree. So there's a summary of what the nutrition standards are. These are also subject to change as the U.S. is revising their recommendations for what makes a healthy meal. So as of writing, this is what the recommendations were. And so we've just spent some time reviewing criteria and constraints and thinking about trade-offs. Those also might have appeared in the news article, so students can use that information to guide the development of their decision tree. So here's this place for them to make their decision tree, and then I encourage you to have students switch papers and try their decision tree. Like maybe the kid would say, I want to add Takis to the school lunch menu. And then they could follow the decision tree to see if that would lead to a reasonable outcome. Maybe not their desired outcome, but what would be realistic. So part 2, which you could hand out like separately, is about identifying red flags in fad diets. So the case study that we're going to look at is an old fad diet that emerged in the 1930s called the grapefruit diet or the Hollywood diet. And this is one that has kind of persisted for nearly 100 years. In my research, I was still seeing people recommending this diet. Now they're recommending it on TikTok. But the main idea here is that you eat grapefruit with every meal, and it's described here. And here's an actual sample of the first 3 days of the diet. The irony is that this diet was created by the Mayo Clinic at the request of actress Ethel Barrymore, related to Drew Barrymore. Um, but now the Mayo Clinic advises against using this diet. And in my research, they said that these are some of the red flags to look for in diets. So after students have kind of read through the summary of the grapefruit Hollywood diet, they go back and highlight and label the different red flags that this diet contains. The next prompt has them, now that they've identified the red flags, to think about how this affects our cells' ability to produce energy. So getting them to think back to what we've learned about, cellular respiration and proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and the amount of calories that they give us, and how quickly that energy gets converted into gets metabolized. And then thinking about question B is getting students to think about why do we need fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, and a balance of those things, and whether this diet does that or not. And then thinking about any potential negative health impacts of this diet. That takes us to part 3, which is good to use if you are teaching this unit in the open SciEd sequence. And the way I recommend that you would do that would be to teach this unit between Unit 2 and Unit 3. And so this part 3 of the assessment, which wouldn't be graded, is a preview of the next unit about cancer. So this first question is really getting students to think about how are they going to discuss a topic that might be emotionally sensitive, that they might have a personal or family experience with. And then the second prompt here is to get them to think about how diet and cancer might affect each other. So getting them to kind of just starting to raise questions. We'll do that a lot more when we get into the cancer unit after this assessment. So that takes us to the end of these instructional videos on how to teach lesson 8. I hope you found these helpful. You can also contact me if you have any additional questions or are wanting to get any more formal professional learning. Thank you.